The governor told me he is well aware of the discontent and animosity people have right now against politicians, especially in the wake of the uprising at our nation's capital last Wednesday. While in Wasioja today, he spent an hour outside talking with folks in that small Dodge County town about the history of their community and the connection it has to the Civil War, acknowledging that through all the political discord we have faced as a nation, we're now at another crossroads. You see, when this was unfolding, you were about ready to announce the rollbacks. When you heard this, your first initial reaction about the rioting at the Capitol, and then talk to me a little bit about what happened over the weekend with getting your family out of the residence.
Yeah, I think like most Americans, given the week that's happened, it's even become more horrific. My first thoughts were obviously that building was full of personal friends, people that I know, so there's that emotional kind of visceral response. And then just the realization that the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, and the leadership of this country, for the first time in over 200 years, was actually under threat. And so I think that sense of anguish and pain of how did we come to this, and then the concern for those individual members, and then I think like what I'm out here doing today is reflecting how do we get here and how do we fix it. And for me, certainly the privilege of serving as governor, but I'm first and foremost a dad with, up until last weekend, 2 teenage kids. Now I've got a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old. And when they get brought into this, like everybody else's family, it's just so disheartening.
You've been pretty good about being able to separate, do your job, but this brings a different level of emotion. This has been a year.
It has, and I said between people, and it's not just me, this is all of your viewers, the stress of the pandemic on everyone, the economic stress, the stress of a campaign, civil unrest around, racial injustices, all of those things came together at this point, and it just makes me recommitted. And again, I can't stress enough being out here. We've been through some hard times. This is the best system of government the world's ever seen. It's also one of the hardest. If we just had one person tell everybody what to do, I guess, we wouldn't have to have these heartfelt disagreements. But I just hope we can reestablish this sense of decorum and decency and civility that has always been a hallmark of Americans' democracy.
And then there are those who would say that that's what we have in Minnesota, that it is under the emergency powers, under your executive authority, that's what's happening.
Yeah, and I think and I would call that much like with the election. I get it. Your guy didn't win. I've been on the other side of both of those. But there's a system in place that says, no, the election was fair, it was validated, it was checked in court. Here in Minnesota, just like 49 other states and the president, I'm exercising these powers to protect veterans in our veterans' home, to procure masks and things. Those powers were granted not only by the Constitution, but by Chapter 12 of statutes from the state legislature. So when I hear people say the governor is illegally or unconstitutionally, no. 40 times we've gone to state and federal court, and 40 judges, whether they be Democrat, Republican, Independent, have all said this authority is within the governor's responsibility in the protection of Minnesotans. Much like the election, you might not have to agree with it, but it doesn't mean that there's anything unscrupulous or happening. And I will always default to healthcare advice from places like the Mayo Clinic and reminding Minnesotans as we made some dial changes. On December 15th, we were at 98.5% of hospital bed capacity. And like we've seen in California, and again, to the listeners and your viewers, yesterday was the deadliest day in this pandemic since it started. 4,500 Americans died. We're in the midst of the biggest global health crisis the world has seen in over 100 years. And in the state of Minnesota, we are taking prudent actions under the law, under the Constitution, to save lives. Now, if there's a disagreement on that, that's healthy. But if the belief is that is not legitimate, that is false, just like the election. The election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was legitimate. And you don't have to like it.
My last point. You gave a letter to lawmakers you would end your executive authority, but you want certain parts of what have been implemented under that authority enacted possibly into law or to be voted on. That didn't sit real well.
That's because they have to take responsibility for doing it. Here's my thing. Why would there be a problem of protecting our veterans and our veterans' homes by codifying some of the changes we've made to make it easier for us to get materials in there? Why would it not sit well with them that they would enact a moratorium on evictions for people who are following these orders? Why would it not sit well with on them that they have to move procurement in a quicker manner? And if the response to that is, I get it. One of the reasons that they don't want to do a lot of these things is they don't believe the pandemic is real. They don't believe that mask wearing makes a difference, and they don't want to have it in place. Months and months ago, I said, if you simply enacted a mask mandate and we got Minnesotans to do it at 90%, we wouldn't need to do the rest of this. And so they have the opportunity to do all of these things. They can get together and do them, but they're choosing not to.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.